What is purpose? What is your purpose? Have you ever thought about that? Why am I here? We tend to ask ourselves sometimes, like, why am I here? Why was I even born? What's the point of me being here? Do I have a point? The secular world really doesn't have a good answer for that question. Science cannot answer that question. Evolution has no answer for that question. They attempt to answer a lot of questions about how you got here, but they have no question. They don't even attempt to answer the why. And so what ends up happening is if you're in that mindset, it leaves you empty with a life without purpose. It leaves you with a life that's meaningless. And this past week, you probably saw in the news, there were several very successful in the secular world, high-profile celebrities who, including a top fashion designer, a celebrity chef, an actor, all these people committed suicide. People that the world and Hollywood and the internet all says are wonderful people, and these are who we should be looking up to, and they don't even think they have a reason to be alive. So they're missing something. They're missing something. According to the Center for Disease Control, this week they put out statistics saying that the suicide rate in America is up 30% since 1999. Why? It's not like we're in hard times or anything, for goodness sake. It's because people simply have no purpose. They don't have a higher purpose than just going to their work. They don't have a higher purpose than just to go do whatever their job is, and so they become their job. And when you become your job, then you realize you're empty inside, so their life becomes meaningless in spite of their secular success. They don't have answers to the question of why am I here? And if your answer is why am I here is there's no reason for me to even be here, then why am I working? I might as well just check out. This is just the stress and all. It's not worth it. And the reality is, if you don't have a purpose, you don't know what you're sent for. You're saying, I wasn't sent here for anything. I'm not a sent one. I don't have a purpose. Then your life is empty. I have a news flash for you. Okay? You have a purpose. You were sent here for a purpose. Okay? And that's what we're going to talk about. One of the things we're going to talk about. So let's see what the Word says about that. In Luke chapter 6, it says, in these days Yeshua went out in the mountain to pray, and he continued all night in prayer to God. Now I thought that was an interesting phrase. He's with his disciples. They're traveling around the Galilee. They're witnessing miracles. He's healing people all over the place on both sides of the Galilee, in the Israeli side and also in the Decapolis, the pagan side. And so he goes up in the mountains and spends all night praying. He's not in distress. This is not like the Garden of Gethsemane when he's about to face the cross. He's just out with the disciples. He's just in communion with God, with the Father. Think about that. So it's not fear, it's relationship. So, and I was just thinking about it, if we only pray when something's wrong or we need something, we're not in relationship.
That's right.
Okay? Prayer is central to having a relationship with God. And we're called, it says in that day, when it was day, so he had prayed all night, and when it was day, he called his disciples, and so he's calling the disciples, recognize who they are. The disciples are those who are studying, who are learning. This word here could be translated, these aren't literal like disciples yet, like close disciples. They're the ones that are following him. They're his followers. They're the ones that are wanting to learn from him. He calls his disciples, and from all of them he chooses 12 of the disciples, of all the people who are with him, whom he also named apostles. Okay? Really important. So out of that, the sent one is called an apostle. It comes from the Greek word apostolos. And the definition of that is a delegate, a messenger, one sent forth with orders, with instructions. And so they have a purpose, right? They're sent forth with a purpose. So If you're sent forth with authority, with a purpose, you're called an apostle, a delegate, one who is delegated, okay? And you have, and that means to have the authority to speak and act on behalf of another. So authority itself is delegated to the delegate who is sent, who is called the sent one. Got it? Okay. It's going to be a test. And so the sent one, when you shalach, send in Hebrew, send them out on a mission with a purpose, they're called an apostle in Greek. Okay, that's where we get apostolos, or translated apostle. And so that's somebody who's on a mission. Yeshua came to them and he spoke to them. It's Matthew 28 at the end of his ministry. So we're going to look at, do you have a mission? Do you have a purpose? Yeshua came and he spoke to his disciples. And he says, all authority, remember the person has to have some authority that they're delegating to you. All authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth. Go accordingly and make disciples of all nations, immersing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Spirit, teaching them to observe all things that I have commanded you. Okay. Now notice what it's saying here. All authority. So there's a multifold, fivefold purpose here. He has all authority. There's a fourfold purpose. The person with authority is given him a fourfold purpose. Go accordingly. And that's really, it's go ye therefore in some translations and different things, but it's go accordingly. Go according to this command. Go according to this order. Go accordingly is a very accurate translation there. And make disciples. Okay. So we go in that authority, and that includes power over the enemy, right? And notice it says make disciples, not just make converts. Disciples are those who follow. Notice that he told them to teach. There in 20, it says on the bottom, it says teach them to observe. So you go in his authority, go according to that, making disciples, immersing them into, not in, it's into, very specific in the Greek there, into this authority of the Father and the Son and the Spirit, and teaching them to observe all the things he's commanded. So if we just immerse them in, for example, just explanation there, you're using it sort of as an incantation, right? It's like, okay, if I say the words right, if I don't say it right, it's not going to work. It's really not what it's saying. It says you're immersing them into a belief, into this authority. So it's not an incantation, it's revelation. You're immersing them into this revelation in the name and the power and the authority of Yeshua Messiah. And we teach them, instruct them by teach them by instructing to make disciples of all nations. Okay? So it's not just specific, not just Jews, not just Gentiles, all nations, to observe all things. So there's your purpose. And so then what do? We're supposed to rejoice always. We're supposed to pray without ceasing. In everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Messiah Yeshua for you. That is our purpose. So we have a purpose, and we can do it rejoicing. We can do it praying without ceasing. This is why we're here. We're here to spread the good news of Messiah Yeshua into a world that thinks they crawled out of a slime pit. Okay?
That's right.
And if you believe you came from a slime pit, the next thing down the road is you have no purpose. Because slime pits don't have a purpose. They're just there. Right? But the earth has a purpose. It's perfectly balanced to support life. And the life that it supports, including you, has purpose, right? And the purpose is to know the Creator and to make Him known. So your purpose is to know Him, the Creator, and to make Him known. So now you know your purpose. So now go. You're sent ones. Amen?